winter evening here in the city of Westfield, our first city council meeting for 2025. It's great to see all the men and women in blue there in the back. I don't know if I've ever felt more safe at a city council meeting than I do tonight. You guys can stay for the whole thing if you want. We'd love to have you. But if I could get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Phil Hord from the Union Bible College. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We thank you for another day, another year to worship and serve you. We pray that you would just bless this body as we're assembled here together, bless in the proceedings of this meeting, that you would guide and direct us in all that we do and all that we say. Lord, we pray that you would protect this city, the city of Westfield, that you would help us to prosper as we follow your leadership. Pray that you protect those that serve, Lord, our first responders, that you would be with them and be near to them and protect them in a special way. Lord, as we're reminded in 1 Samuel chapter 17, that there is a cause and it's still worth fighting for, the cause of liberty and justice for all. Pray that you bless in this meeting, Lord. May we serve you faithfully. May we love you fully. And we'll give you praise for it all. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
President Tam, would you like to run the meeting, please?
Thank you, Mayor. May we first notice presence of quorum? Mara?
Noah Herron.
Here.
Chad Huff.
Here.
Victor McCarty.
Here.
Patrick Tam.
Here.
Kurt Waninger.
Here.
John Dart.
Here.
Joe Deppner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first order of business here is the election of a council president and vice president for 2025. We need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to elect Patrick Tam as president.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor Huff, and I'm sure there's more discussion. Please. Hearing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Waninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. We need a motion and a second as well for vice president.
Make a motion to appoint Vice President John Dart.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Waninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. We have approval of minutes. Assuming that everyone's had the opportunity to review the minutes from the previous meeting, we need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the 12/23/2024 meeting.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Huff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, may we call the roll?
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Waninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next order of business is approval of the claim docket. Assume everyone's had the chance and opportunity to review that fully. Need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the claims from January 2025.
Second.
We have a motion made by, making my life hard here. We have a motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by our Vice President, Councilor Dart. Any further discussion this evening? Seeing none, may we call the roll?
Kurt Waninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Do we have any residents that wish to address the council this evening? So the most important thing that we do is really recognize our public safety officers, which frankly makes these meetings the most meaningful meetings that we do all year. Mayor, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'd just like to say a few words as Chief King works his way up to the front. We're really blessed in Westfield. We have a wonderful community to live in. It's safe, but it doesn't come without sacrifice, and the men and women in blue certainly are at the tip of the spear when it comes to providing that blanket of protection for our residents. We can't say thank you enough for those of you in the back of the room who put your lives on the line every day for us. We know you guys do see, interact with things that we can't wrap our arms around, and for that we are so appreciative of your willingness to sacrifice for us. And we have some fresh meat here in the front row that's going to be joining the ranks. We welcome you to Westfield. We're excited that you want to be a part of our community. I think you're going to find it is super supportive of our police. I can tell you, I have witnessed it firsthand many times where I've been at a restaurant and a police officer comes in or a firefighter comes in for a meal, and they rarely pay for that because we have residents who just are so appreciative of what you guys do. So welcome. Thank you for choosing our community. And if you ever need anything, give me a call. If you ever want to tattletale on Chief King, give me a call. I'm happy to hear any complaints you might have. No, I wouldn't recommend you do that, actually. But, if you don't know, Chief King's a Marine. I wouldn't cross him. But Chief King, if you could take it from here, that'd be great.
Mr. President, members of the council, with your permission, I'd like to have the 7 officers step forward.
Absolutely.
If you would line up and then face towards the audience and make it a little bit easier. Please get to a position where you can see the words. Unlike last time, I'm not going to read 3 sentences. Just for everyone's in attendance, these 7 officers all come from other agencies. They're all existing police officers and bring a myriad of experience to Westfield. And we're all super excited about you guys joining us, and we look forward to working with you. So with that, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support, uphold, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially execute the duties assigned to me as a police officer for the city of Westfield, Indiana. To the best of my ability and always in accordance with existing laws and policies, so help me God. Lower your hand. Thank you.
You too. Yeah. In addition to the mayor's comments, as well as Chief Keen's, on behalf of the council, we want to thank you for choosing Westfield, but also want to thank your families and your loved ones, many of which we can obviously see in the audience. we know the dedication doesn't just stop with the person that serves the city of Westfield, but also the family. We thank you dearly for your support and your love for your officers, and frankly, the parents and the little ones that may be a little tough to wrangle today. Frankly, I wish mine were that young, but not really. So, but thank you very much for your dedication to public service and to our community. Thank you very much.
Councilor Tam, if you want to give them a chance, for those that just were here for the swearing in, aren't really enamored with things that are coming, feel free now, if you want to leave, quietly depart the area. That would be absolutely acceptable for us.
Now we're going to be. We'll go ahead and resume our council meeting. The next order of business is the Economic Development Report, the Grand Park Development Master Plan, presented by our Economic Development Director, Janelle Farron.
I'm going to say just a few words as she works her way up. I can't express how excited I am about this plan that we're getting ready to reveal to you guys. Janelle and her team has worked tirelessly to come up with what I think is going to be a vision and a development unlike anything that you've seen in Indiana at this point. We've traveled the country, we've looked at best practices, and we have hired some of the best this country can offer in terms of urban planning to help us create this vision. And I just can't say enough of how excited I am about the potential, what this is going to mean for our community and for the state of Indiana as a whole moving forward. So Janelle, if you would.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to present here. If all goes well with technology, I also have a few members of the design team that are going to be joining in the conversation partway through. Thrilled to have this opportunity to plan such a dynamic future for the Grand Park area and to be able to use the resources that have been shared with us through Hamilton County Tourism and the grants that they have provided to provide not only a Hunden report that we discussed earlier this year, but this master plan for Grand Park. So I wanted to start by just giving us a brief background. None of this should be new for anyone who's been paying attention to economic development reports here in Westfield over the last year. But we started out 2024 with a Hunden study that was brought to us by Hamilton County Tourism, studying Grand Park and the opportunities for creating an entertainment district surrounding it. And as a reminder, from the very beginning, 2007, there was this vision to create this exceptional sports complex. Partnerships with Hamilton County Tourism have extended back, we're coming close to 2 decades of involvement with Hamilton County Tourism with this concept of a 400-acre multi-sport campus. We, in 2023, experienced 5.5 million visits to Grand Park. This is far in excess of the original estimates of 250,000 visitors per year. and has really given us some opportunities for economic growth in the area. In 2024, we did release the 2024 Hunden Study and Master Plan, and you are going to see a few excerpts of that here. This is stats coming from a resource called Placer AI. They do a lot of demographic studies, and you can see Grand Park Sports Campus coming in at number 16 on the list of most visited stadiums, arenas, convention centers, and sports complexes for 2023. Again, this is from the early 2024 report. This is coming right in behind United Center in Chicago. And compared to competitive national sports developments, Grand Park Sports Campus comes in at number 1, above ESPN Wild World of Sports Complex in Orlando, Florida. 47% of visitation coming to Grand Park Sports Campus is from beyond 100 miles from our doors. And down below, you just see a map of the locations that people have traveled from to attend Grand Park in 2023. With the Hunden study, there were recommendations of phase 1, 2, and 3 development within Grand Park and its surrounding area. And this was really looked at as a broad entertainment district. So this is beyond the scope of the master plan that we're presenting today, but encompasses really everything from 191st Street North all the way down to State Road 32, and included information that came from Grand Universe, from Wheeler Landing, from other developers in the area. And there were certain recommendations for development of this plan, including hotels, having a 150-key select service hotel within the first 3 years, 200-key select service plus hotel within the next 3 to 7 years, and then a 400-key hotel and conference center by year 10. One thing that is really important to note since that Hunden study was released is that we've announced the FIFA practice location at Grand Park and the partnership with the Renaissance in Carmel. And this will be for the practices for FIFA, as well as the Live Golf Tournament that will be located here in Westfield. So this really accelerated our interest in studying a full-service hotel within the Westfield market. And we are just wrapping up a hotel market study with Hunden Partners to identify the feasibility of bringing in a full-service hotel in the Grand Park district, which we're presenting here shortly. You'll see the location of it right near the Grand Park Event Center. And they've been studying 225 key and a 275 key option with various banquet conference facilities. So we will have more to come on that later this winter. So in 2024, Hunden Grand Park study, we also had the Grand Park PPA executed. This is Grand Park Sports and Entertainment, taking over the operations of Grand Park, starting here in 2025. With that, there was a selection of a development partner, Keystone Group, and then we moved into the design of the Hamilton County Tourism Grant-funded Spec Dempsey Perkins and Will Master Plan, which I'm getting ready to present here. We also have, again, the hotel market study in 2024. Our goals of this master plan are to focus on target industries. Entertainment, it's not a typo. This is where you have opportunities to both be entertained and eat at the same time. Retail, agritourism, sports technology, Class A office, family entertainment, and hotel. And we have proven that we have the demand for all of these things. Creating a vibrant mixed-use district that supports hospitality, gaining recognition as the top youth sports destination in the U.S. We want to become a desirable destination for brands seeking high exposure. We're bringing in gateway entrances from 191st Street and 186th Street along Grand Park Boulevard as well, considering the relocation of a championship field and championship diamond, and then potentially looking for locations for an ice facility, full-service hotel, sports tech innovation hub. I'm pleased to say that we have found destinations for all of these things and have met our goals in this plan. I'm going to give you a few definitions here. As we talk through the plan, over here on the left, you'll see we've defined north of 186th Street, which is about 88 acres, land that is owned by the city, shown in green within that black outline, and then some additional land that is under contract with the city as of last Friday. So the city does have control over everything within this plan north of 186th Street And we'll be working in large part with Keystone on everything that is shown in green. And then we're still working on what our plan is for the remaining 17 acres that's shown in gray. South of 186th Street, 65 acres, is also under contract. Cardin Associates has just within the last week signed a contract to purchase all of that land, and we are beginning discussions with them on what their development plan will be for that area. We do have some constraints and operational needs that we had to consider as we kicked off this process. There is an existing approximately 900 surface parking spaces at Grand Park, which will need to be relocated in order for development to occur. Grand Park Boulevard and 186th Street bisect this development, so how do we keep this cohesively connected for pedestrians and alternative transportation? There's a gas easement, Buckeye, which is unbuildable, and this aligns, if you see the gap between the diamonds up at the north end of Grand Park, the Buckeye easement runs right through those diamonds, and that's that green space there. We have a flood zone within the area, and existing detention is used for irrigation of the fields. From an operational standpoint, we need to make sure that we're maintaining that operational connectivity between the east and west sides of Grand Park, that we're providing better distribution of parking throughout the campus, and that we're ensuring that tournaments continue to be run efficiently. We've been working on the master plan process for about 6 months with Spec Dempsey, Perkins and Will. We started with some initial surveys of the existing needs, existing infrastructure, and kicked off design team workshops in July through October. This included some design charrettes with the stakeholders. They took over the entire meeting room on the lower level of city services for 3 to 4 days at a time, and they all worked together with city staff available to help answer questions, and came up with concepts. One concept you see here at your left. And we also came up with a theme, a place for people who love sports. We identified the need to relocate the championship field and the championship diamond. We looked for a sports tech incubator. We came up with a concept of creating a linear park which would connect all the way from the north at the Grand Park Event Center to the south where you see the Grand Park Pond labeled. We're focused on a walkable development, making sure that we have locations for community events and celebrations near Grand Park Event Center, and then, of course, carving out room for this very necessary hotel and conference center. As we've worked through the design refinements, we've coordinated with utility providers, including understanding our easement limitations. We've done a test fit of a potential ice facility and sports-related headquarter buildings, test fit of a championship stadium, test fit of a champion baseball diamond relocation, and then, of course, further refinement of the Grand Park Pond and some road sections. So again, this is the goal. We want to create this destination, a very walkable, dynamic, mixed-use place for people who love sports. We have over 5.5 million visits recorded in 2023, and we want this to be a destination not just to play sports, but for everyone who loves sports to enjoy their time outside of their tournaments. So this is my technology test. Do I have my design team on the line?
You do.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to kick this off to Jeff Speck. I assume that you're going to be starting this discussion, and I will give you the floor to talk about this master plan.
Thank you, Janelle. And let me say it's my first opportunity to address the council in Westfield. I'm sorry it's not in person, but happy to have you at least hear our version of this plan that we're very excited about, that we've been working on now for more than 6 months. We were very honored to be chosen by the city to work on this, and I built a team. My firm is called Spec Dempsey. We're based in Boston. We're teamed up with Perkins and Will, which is a international design firm represented here by Jeff Williams and by the project manager, Sarah Kellerman. Both of them will be speaking to you as well. It was amazing. Well, let me just say first, I was in Chicago this weekend at my brother's wedding, and I mentioned to some people that I was working in Westfield, and they said, "Oh, where all the sports are?" So there's already a strong reputation, and I know from what I've learned from Janelle and others, it stretches well beyond Chicago, but that this is a place that's a real regional destination. And it was amazing for us to discover this very strange condition and this incredible opportunity where you have 100 acres or more of sports to the east and 100 acres or more of sports to the west, a very important three-field event center, giant hangar-like space where the Colts train to the north, and yet this space in the middle that was ready for development. As Janelle said, a couple fields needed to move, but it was principally parking lots. It is principally parking lots and empty space, farmland, and land that has not been put to its highest and best use, considering that it's surrounded by this incredible destination where 5.5 million people are coming every year. As it was presented to us, and as we've come to understand it, you have this real asset that you're not taking advantage of. All these people who are spending time here, they spend many days there, they spend long days there. Kids are playing sports, other kids are not. Parents often are not. There's a lot of people with a lot of time to spend and money to spend who are not spending the money or getting to know the area in a more complete way. It is a very bold move for Westfield to choose to create a new second town center in this location. We very much believe it's the right move, and we are very excited about the plan. The plan is organized, as you can see, around the event center to the north. It has a second anchor to the south, which is the extension of the existing pond. As in the earlier Hunden study, there's a canal that connects the existing pond to the east of Grand Park Boulevard, west to a new anchor on our site, which is an amenitized pond as well. And then down the center of it, what you have is what we're calling Champions Way, which is a truly amenitized wide boulevard with a center median full of all sorts of different activities, amenities, and sports-oriented stuff. Next slide, please. The basic diagram behind the design is the GPEC to the north, as you can see, the extension of the lake into the pond and canal walk to the south, and it's crossing 186th Street, which you don't see in this drawing, just north of there, somewhat seamlessly. We want to make that connection as pleasant as possible. And then there was a really neat clue present on the site when we arrived, which are these two detention ponds, one heading towards the east, towards the baseball and softball, the other headed towards the west, towards the soccer. And we thought, what better way to show that this is a center that's embracing and serving the sports on either side of it by turning those into more formalized canals, more hard edge canals, almost European style, that provide vistas out into the fields from that central corridor. So that's the general organizational principle. I'll turn it over to Sarah for a minute to talk a bit about what we're placing in this plan.
Thanks, Jeff. If you turn your attention to the top of the slide here where it says district anchors and amenities, the design team was challenged with a few unique program elements that we needed to design into the north and south areas of the site. So in the north area, we were asked to really embrace the Grand Park Event Center and to create a new destination event plaza associated with it, and to create a strong relationship between the event center and a new full-service hotel with conference center functions as well. The second major program element in the north area was a new 10,000-seat stadium, which has a pretty large footprint, you'll see as we go through. In the south area, Jeff described the Grand Park Lake and the sort of park-like amenitized edge of that new lake. But along the north edge and reaching up to the north, there would be destination retail along Champions Way. We were also asked to create a larger footprint developable parcel where the potential for a future ice facility or large sports headquarters could sit comfortably. Next slide.
And I wanted to talk a little bit, and it's a small version, but you're seeing a slightly more nicely rendered plan on the left here. And Um, the plan grows out fully. I mean, it's the true embodiment of the sort of planning work that we like to do, which is focused entirely on making walkable places. If any of you know my work, I've worked in Carmel, and we're finishing up a master plan for Fishers right now, and the organization of the work we do is around the concept of the walkable city, which is the name of several of my books. We define a walkable place as being a place where people make the choice to walk. They may own cars or golf carts as well, but walking is actually a reasonable choice for them to get around. And for them to make that choice, the walk has to be as good as the drive. And for that to happen, the walk has to do four things. It needs to be useful, safe, comfortable, and interesting. And so those four categories are what we try to satisfy in every plan that we do. In this plan, the useful category is clearly satisfied by a full variety of daily activities. You know, this is a place to live, it's a place to work, it's a place to shop, and it's a place to play, and it's especially a place to play. But all those things coming together mean that at the worst case scenario, it's it's what we call a park once environment. You might drive to get there, but once you're there, you're not going to want to take the car out of the garage or off the street again, because everything else that you want to get to is so conveniently located. The second category, safe, is satisfied by the fact that all these streets are designed to have cars moving slowly and for pedestrians and cyclists to be protected from vehicles. So if you know the Monon Boulevard, which we planned, those very narrow driving lanes mean that drivers do not go fast. They do not feel comfortable going fast. Similar approaches to low-speed driving are behind every street in this plan. And then in terms of comfortable and interesting, what's most important is that the streets are lined by friendly faces, by buildings that present open, active edges to the street. You'll notice if you look closely at this diagram, and we'll be zooming in a minute, that there are parking structures, but the parking structures are wrapped so that their boring edges are not visible to the streets around them. And then also in terms of interest, of course, people love to walk past retail more than anything else. And all the retail has been focused on this central corridor from the very top, from the event center, all the way down to the lake area, and on the north shore of the lake is imagined as a retail location with very little retail in other locations, because we want the retail to be focused in one spot, which is how retail does well. So it's really a combination of all the things that make for a walkable place. We're very excited about the plan, and I'm going to hand it over to Jeff Williams, who drew many of these images that you're going to be seeing, to talk a bit more about what's in them.
Thank you, Jeff. My name is Jeff Williams, and as we're planning a walkable place, we wanted to take you on a walk along Champions Way from north to south. And when you look at this image, as Jeff pointed out, we see many of those characteristics. We see a continuous mixed-use environment. We see gracious space for outdoor dining that makes an interesting walk, a very social walk, a slow street. And into the center of the boulevard, we see places to play. This image in particular, we're in the middle of the boulevard looking north towards the event center. Next slide. So as we move from north to south, we're going to zoom in on a few areas. And so here we're indicating where that last view was in the upper blocks of the district near the event center and its central plaza right at the front door, adjacent to a new hotel. Next slide. And Jeff mentioned in his introduction that there are a series of drainage basins, two in particular that run east-west in the northern area of the district. And we would like to repurpose those as an amenity that build character in the place and create an interesting place to walk along, but also that allow us to create connectivity east and west. Here we're looking towards the baseball fields to the east, and the northern basin would move you westward towards the soccer and football fields. You can see the Champions Way crossing from left to right across your screen, with a street and a pedestrian bridge, a really beautiful environment to be in. Next slide. As we move south, here we're in the blocks just north of 186th Street. And this is one of the things that you can see here is the location for the proposed 10,000 seat stadium. And on its northern side is this canal in the image that we were just looking at. And so we're starting to move south, and that structure, that network of walkable streets is moving south. Next slide. It's important at this stage of planning, as we're coming up with big ideas, to also drill into the details of how this place will work. And here we're showing a cross section of the linear park of our Champions Way, which is a boulevard with a park that's about 60 feet wide, that's flanked by very slow moving streets on either side, bike paths, and then wide sidewalks adjacent to the buildings on either side. And we see this is our main street of the district. This is the place where that centralizes all of the community activities and is really an epicenter for play. Next slide. And you're on mute.
I knew I was going to do that. Okay, linear park activation. That's what you're seeing on this slide. So as you travel along Champions Way, each block will have a unique personality that responds to the surrounding uses or the surrounding context. So closest to the Grand Park Event Center, the plaza itself will actually have a mini field. And this space, the flexible seating around it, the retail facing it, can also serve as a flexible event space. Offer places to play. And just south of that, there would be a championship podium that teams could use to pose for photos at the end of a successful tournament weekend. As you travel to the south, there's opportunities to recreate built right in. So think pickleball, mini golf, a skate park, really active and exciting things to play on and to observe from street side. Closer to the stadium, the central area would be designed to support congregation of bigger groups and encourage visitors to linger longer in the area, and also help facilitate the movement of bigger groups through that area to and from the stadium. And in the southern area, the design facilitates a transition from retail into that more park-like setting along the edge of the pond. You could imagine playable sculptures or parkour type playable landscape that would draw the visitors down towards the pond's edge in the southern area. Another space that would be really nice to sit and enjoy as someone who's engaging with the landscape or just watching. Next slide.
Okay, so here we are. We've moved south of 186th Street, and so GPEC is a major anchor and drives an amazing amount of visitors into this district. And the southern anchor needs to be equally powerful. So at the end of this incredibly cool linear park that comes through the center of the district, it opens up out onto the Grand Park pond or this basin. And you can see that, and we need something to terminate that view, and the idea came up during the design process of placing a Ferris wheel immediately at the end of that across the lake, giving a kind of a picturesque view, but also one that's an anchor that carries forward the entertainment theme of this spine. Next slide. So in this view, we're right at the end of Champions Way. Right on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see there's a plaza surrounded by food and beverage. a cascading water feature that goes down into the lake, spreading out on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see our Ferris wheel rotating into view. Directly ahead of us, the building that has the sloping glass, that's the proposed location for either the ice facility or the sports innovation center. In the middle of the view, we can see the canal moving eastward, and this is heading towards the basin that the Wyndham sits along, and we can see a pedestrian bridge and bicycle path that crosses the canal heading east towards the Monon Trail. Next slide.
So a part of the plan will include regulating plans, both building and landscape, for the north and south areas. And it will also include a quantified development overview for both areas. The excerpt on the screen is just the south area, but to give you a sense of it, the total development square footage across the north and south area in the final vision, the illustrative vision of the plan, is about 8 million square feet, including parking, 5.3 million square feet, excluding parking. And includes over 4,000 new residential units to really just create a hugely lively new town center, second town center, and neighborhood, and just an incredible destination in this area. That would include over 500,000 square feet of retail. And the summary of the two areas at present has about 7,000 parking spaces in structured and surface parking. That does not include the number of on-street parking spaces. And with a walkable center like this, for a lot of reasons, you want on-street parking on almost all of the blocks, which is what we have designed. So really phenomenal summary of elements will be included for the north area and south area, as you see here. So you can really see the mix of uses and the development breakdown. Janelle, I think it's back to you.
Thank you, Jeff, and Sarah. I appreciate you guys summarizing your process and the design for everyone. I want to wrap this discussion up by moving on. We can move on to the next slide and talk a little bit about what next steps we have. All of the images that you see here, including this excerpt of a regulating plan, is being finalized into a comprehensive document that the design team will be issuing. I was hoping that we would have that by today, but there are still some items that need to be wrapped up, so we're looking at probably a week or so. We'll have the full master plan, and we will work with the community development department to bring this in as an addendum to the existing comprehensive plan. There have been 2 other addendums for this area of the city to the existing comprehensive plan. I cannot remember what years they were right now. I'll have to, I know somebody probably has those numbers, but we have had 2 updates. This would be the third update of this area. So this would be brought in as an adopted amendment to the comprehensive plan, and then it would be brought into the new comprehensive plan once that is established, in the next year or so. Rezoning would be city initiated. So what we've discussed with community development is creating a new zoning district, which would encompass the entire Grand Park District. This would not be a PUD, it would be a district type. And then as we work with the developers on their specific development plans, we would come for approval of those individual developments as they happen. This is approximately a 10-year, if I had to estimate, 10-year build-out process from start to finish. So we want to leave enough flexibility that we have we have that option to move some things around. If blocks need to be cut in half to do 2 smaller developments within them, or we have a specific user that we need to shift some things around for, we have that opportunity. We also have some market studies that need to be finalized. Again, working with Hunden on that hotel market study. I've reviewed a draft of that and had some clarification questions that they're working on for us this next week or 2, and then a cost opinion for the district. We are also working forward with an ICE facility RFQ. This would be likely for a build, operate, transfer model. And this would be in the southern portion of the Grand Park District. Or there would be an alternative that it could be someplace else near Grand Park, which would open up the opportunity for this block that's shown for the ICE facility to be used for another purpose, such as the sports tech headquarters. We'll also be working on business attraction with my team, identifying sports organization headquarters that might be interested in locating here, sports technology R&D. One thing that we have not listed here, but we're working on kind of on the periphery, is a relationship with the Sports Tech HQ to help find an opportunity, very likely right next to GPEC, to create an innovation center somewhat near or similar to High Alpha downtown, that is a destination for people to have co-working and to have small startups that are in the technology space right there next to the event center. We'll be looking for family entertainment, health and wellness, restaurants, and retail. Next steps on the development side. As I stated earlier, we're working with Keystone Group. They are starting a 6-month development plan refinement process where they will start to hone in a bit more on the scope, budget, schedule, and phasing of the project. They have already identified that for phase 1, they would like to start with the design and construction of a parking garage, again, to replace existing parking within the district before we can build buildings on top of the surface parking. A full-service hotel and conference center, which is located at the southeast corner of Grand Park Event Center. It's that building that has the little kink in it, so this is directly west of that larger retention pond. Mixed-use development, this would likely be a full block, including parking garage, and expansion of the Indy 11 soccer operations headquarters. Cardin Associates, again, 1 week that they've had this group of parcels under contract. They'll be starting on a development plan also, including a refinement process. We've had some discussions already about whether or not the density shown at the southwest corner is realistic from a market feasibility standpoint. So there will be some back and forth with the city on what their vision is and how we accommodate the walkable nature of this into their vision. They are doing due diligence as they work through their period prior to closing and coordinating with some end users, potential development partners, and of course coordination with stakeholders. The rezone will be part of the city-initiated rezone for the entire district. And with that, happy to answer any questions or have the design team answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Janelle. Any questions this evening? There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so Cardin Associates purchased a property south of 186th
South of 186th Street.
So they'll be the lead development on that? Or how are they going to be interacting if they're going to be interacting with Keystone? Because Keystone's got the north side
Sure.
of 186th? What's the arrangement there?
Well, I would say primarily they'll be working separately with the city. Of course, because there is synergy between what's happening on the north side and the south side of 186th Street, we want to make sure that we're cohesively looking at the development, that we have the continuity of the Champions Way, the linear park, that we're not duplicating, I would say, amenities, duplicating business types. We really want to make sure that we're across the entire district creating that synergy that we need in order for this to be successful. But the development agreements that we have will be separately with Keystone and with Cardin Associates.
And the advantage to that is we can develop both sides at the same time. We can have the north going with Keystone, we can have the south going with Card. I can assure you there'll be lots of players intermingling between both those developers. But instead of this taking 15 or 20 years to develop out, we'll be able to develop very quickly, and we'll be meeting in the middle of that development as things grow and develop.
And one key item to note here is that Champions Way, the linear park that runs from GPEC all the way down to the pond, will be defined. Part of the outcome of this planning process with Spec Dempsey and Perkins and Will is within the regulating plan, they'll provide us CAD files that provide the alignment. So we can provide those CAD files to both groups so that we're sure that we're lining everything up and we don't end up with offsets, or as we build from the north-south and south-north, that, things don't line up. We want to make sure that everything is seamed together at the edges, if you will.
I was kind of caught off guard on how much residential it seemed the ratio there. Like, is there reasoning behind how much residential there is versus retail and whatnot?
Keep in mind that this is a build-out probably over a 10-year period, and we will only build what the market demands. So I would say the mix of it has to be, you have to have enough residential that the district thrives. If you don't have enough people living in an area, it won't become walkable. You don't have enough critical mass in order to keep it lively, let's say 18 hours a day. You really want from morning till evening for everything to be thriving. I think we can do some studies on what the density is per acre for people, but this is really, I would say, similar to what we see in other urban mixed-use developments around the country.
And keep in mind, guys, that a big destination like a family entertainment center, people will drive to. But if you have a little restaurant or shop along that spine that's supposed to service Grand Park visitors, if nobody's there during the day or on off days of tournaments, those businesses won't survive. That's why nothing's came there to this point. So you got to build in some level of density to feed those businesses year-round beyond the tournaments.
One thing I could add, too, is that each of these blocks, while they're designed, say, in this first rendering to be residential, there is the flexibility that if there was, say, another sports technology headquarters that wanted a specific block and it's shown as residential, that we would have the flexibility to pivot and change things as we move forward. So it's a plan, it's a master plan, but it's not so rigidly defined that we have to do exactly what's in this document.
I guess to add to Noah's comment, I'd hate to see this just, how developments occur, it gets approved, it's not quite working out, it just keeps being more residential, and we don't get the commercial base in there. So I'd want to make sure that certain areas are reserved or designated for commercial use only in those areas. A couple of questions I have for the Championship Away at 186th Street. Is that at grade or just slightly elevated with 186th Street going under it?
It's currently shown at grade, and there would be traffic calming along 186th Street that would intentionally slow people down. One of the key concepts for this area is to provide on-street parking. Whether that happens on 186th Street or not, is kind of a question, is something that we can study a little bit more in depth with Public Works, with the engineering department as we move forward. But, we understand that we definitely need to slow traffic down and create safe opportunities for people to cross. Whether there's an above grade or below grade crossing there is something that we can explore as well.
Okay. Parking garages, I think I counted 7 of them. I know we got to accommodate and make up for the parking spaces that are being eliminated. How many parking spaces is that, and approximately how many square feet total of parking spaces?
So this is the summary for the southern portion only, and we have parking spaces is 200, that's not right. We can't only have 253 parking spaces in the southern portion.
Janelle,
Sarah,
I can
help
speak
me.
to this if that's helpful. Yeah.
Sorry,
over the
total,
north-
2,754.
2,754. Janelle,
I saw one
actually-
parking number, I saw one parking label on the left. Thank you,
But wait, there's
2,754.
more.
Yeah.
Across both the north and south area, we're looking at 2.8, about 2.9 million square feet dedicated to parking, mostly structured, although I do think we have 2 small surface lots identified in the plan. That total, and again, that does not include any on-street parking, is just over 7,000 spaces.
Thank you, Sarah.
And we're working on a total for the on-street parking, but it will be significant because it's basically every leg of the street network through the area.
What is the total anticipated peak parking during a high event period like 4th of July or Labor Day weekend, during a large sporting event weekend where a lot of people will be coming to this area as well as maybe other events going on?
We're going to have to do a deeper parking study on that.
Okay.
I mean, and I will tell you too, a district like this can't be designed for the peak. If we have something that has that much parking, we're going to have to run shuttles. We're going to have to find some way to accommodate parking in other lots that we have in the area. It is just not economically feasible to design, well, any place to design for, for that peak period.
And keep in mind also, it's hard to predict parking until we know exactly what's going in those spaces. So we can estimate all day long, but until we know whether it's mixed use or something else, that's going to drive those numbers. The other thing to keep in mind as well, and we've talked a little bit on the surface of this, and I don't want to put too much of this out in the public because we haven't worked through all the details yet, but we are looking at a trolley system to connect Grand Park to our hotels, to our downtown, and to Grand Universe, if that happens, all the different tourism traps that we're going to have in our city. That will eliminate a lot of parking needs as well. If you can park at, say, Spring Mill or Spring Hill Suites and catch a trolley into the park to spend the day, most people would choose to leave their cars where they're at and come in. Not every sport affords that, depending on how much gear they're carrying with them. But we are looking at other types of transportation to get people into the park without physically driving to the park. So when you think of Westfield Rocks the Fourth, if you have trolleys running from the different schools into the park, it does reduce a lot of congestion and a lot of need for parking. So we're looking at this from a myriad of options and strategies. And keep in mind, we're just finally dotting every I and crossing every T on this initial design phase. So there's still a lot of work left to be done.
Mayor, just tourism attractions is the proper term. Tourism
Not
attractions.
Mayor, how
Depends
many,
on which parent you talk to, right?
Tourism attractions.
how many golf cart parking spaces?
There will be lots.
1 million.
Go ahead.
Could I make a comment that I think might clarify some of the questions that were raised? Both Janelle and Mayor Willis talked about the flexibility inherent in the plan. When you review the entire plan document, you will see two different types of drawings. Most of what we've been looking at in the tour today has been what we call the illustration plan. And what the illustration plan shows is one ideal build out of the site. And I will say here that we did a lot of research and worked with a lot of partners and identified other potential partners, with the crack team at the city to figure out what the most likely and, ideal collection of end users were going to be to populate this plan. But these are all illustrative versions, or I should say they're one illustration of how it might turn out. Also in the plan is a set of very specific, what are called regulating plans. And the regulating plans look more like this. In fact, the regulating plan has 2 pages for each segment. You're looking here at the public realm regulating plan for the southern segment. And what the purpose of a regulating plan is to control all those things that really matter in terms of creating a quality space that's going to provide the most value into the future, and to not regulate the things that don't matter. And so what you see here is the edges of the private lots, and those edges are required in this plan and in the separate sheet that you don't see to have a certain quality to them. They can't be blank walls, they can't be parking decks exposed to the street. They have to be within a certain range of heights, for example. But what you see controlled in this plan is what really matters, which is the design of the streets, the location of the street trees, the detail of the public realm, the schematic design of the different parkways and canal edges and all the other stuff that can stay consistent even as the different users change over time. Included in the regulating plan, as one of the councilors alluded to, is a required retail zone. So the spine reaching up and down Champions Way actually is required to have retail or similarly active street use along its entire edge, as are these small buildings that you see located on the northern edge of the lake there. And it controls other things like important locations on buildings where a vista is terminated because a street is aiming at it. It limits the number of curb cuts you can have, driveways across the sidewalk. So it basically controls those things that matter. And when we put a plan like this, now after 40 years of doing these plans, we finally figured out that when you create a plan like this and you want it to stick, it's important to have the regulating plan only control those things that matter, which is principally the public realm and those aspects of the private realm that shape the public realm. But it doesn't speak to use, It doesn't determine whether a block is residential or commercial. And so it actually provides you with that sort of flexibility without having to worry about the quality of the public spaces.
And that's a great point, Jeff. For example, I can't share a lot here, but we have 3 separate headquarters right now we're in talks with on this parcel. And we had a conversation 2 weeks ago with somebody who said, well, I want to be here in this location. Great, we can make that happen. And that's the flexibility of this plan is things will shuffle over time, depending on who wants to come and how big of a player they are. We may have to do some reshuffling of how things look, but the important things will stick, and that will drive how we develop this long term.
Janelle, on one of the slides, I think I saw conference space. I don't remember what slide it was. They don't have slide numbers on it.
Yeah.
But I could refer to it. It's early on in the presentation if you want to go. I think it's maybe third or fourth one. That might be it. No,
No, we're almost to
I think it was down in the lower left-hand corner of one of the slides.
this one?
I think, yeah, it said something like 23,000, 25,000 square feet of conference center. How was that designated, and is 23, 25 enough? Or how was that conference space determined?
So is this at the hotel?
There was conference space mentioned at the hotels, I think 50,000
Okay.
in one, and, yeah.
That was, sorry to be skipping around here. This is from the Hunden draft study for the hotel market analysis.
Okay, yeah, I saw that on the ballroom up there. It's 20,000 and then 24 down below. But are those adjoining buildings?
These are 2 different options.
Okay.
So we would not be doing both of these. This is an either or.
Okay.
So studying 2 scenarios.
I'm curious of what type of conference you'd attract at 20 or 24,000 square feet. I'm thinking more like 40 or 45,000 would
Well,
be
keep
more
in mind that
appropriate.
we also have Grand Park Event Center that's attached to it. So there are a lot of opportunities
Which you can only use the middle part of it
for space, so.
Today.
today. Okay.
We have a major hotel chain that's already looking at this. They wanted to run their own numbers despite what we had from Hunden. And believe it or not, they came within a few keys and a few square feet of what the Hunden report said we could support. So they're aligning, and their data supports what we're showing as well.
And last question on you referred to the ice center. I think it was 177,000 square feet or something like that. How many rinks would that be?
We are test fitting for a 4-sheet ice facility. It could be a 3-sheet ice facility with room to expand to a 4th, but we wanted to make sure, I'll go show you where that block is located. Oh, this is a good view. So at the very right end, that really large roof that you see on the west side of Grand Park Boulevard, that is what's been test fit for the 4-sheet ice facility.
Like S15 or something like that, yeah. Okay.
Jeff, this might be a question for you. Obviously, you've worked on developments and projects all over the U.S. and the world. Are there any developments that you would say, not mirror, but would be similar to what you're designing for us, and that we could take a look at it and do our own investigation as to maybe someplace in Boston or someplace in Spain, who knows? Are there any projects, because you're obviously incorporating all your knowledge and, into this project, and there's probably something that's similar. Is that a fair statement?
It is, but something that's truly of this scale and this sort of anchor is not popping immediately into my head. There are 2 Jeffs here who both work on these projects. Jeff, if something pops into your head, let me know. But there have been a number of retail focus new master plans, that were not lifted by having the sports facilities around them, that are similarly dense at their centers, developed by Rick Caruso in the LA area, like the Grove, and can you think of others, Jeff, that are similar?
Well, I think one of the challenges with Grant Park is how exceptional it is, of just being such a heavyweight in youth sports that you can't find a parallel there. And so it's hard to find a parallel environment that matches it. But some that you might think of, some that are a little bit denser and then a few that are less dense, but other sports oriented environments. The Battery in Atlanta with the Atlanta Braves is incredibly successful and very well programmed, controlled by a master developer in close partnership with a sports organization. Titletown, there's a great mixed use development around sports in Green Bay that has some of this, outdoor entertainment as a sports themed outdoor entertainment for children at the heart of the district. And so I think there are a few of these places that you can sample from. But really, I think you're setting the bar for youth sports anywhere in this country by a long shot.
But in terms of similarly large, new developments of similar scale without the sports, there's a couple examples where airports were vacated. The Mueller plan in Austin is one of them. The Stapleton site in Denver is another. Those are two good examples you might look at.
And Jeff, if I might inject here, I'm going to educate you on something you're much smarter than I am on. Our team went to Frisco, Texas. This is what we saw in Frisco, Texas. The Dallas Cowboys moved their headquarters out of Dallas, and they planted their flag in Frisco. At the time, Frisco was about 65,000 people, the size of Westfield. It's now a couple 100,000, 300,000 people. And a lot of it's centered around these types of development. The Cowboys moved down there. The Dallas Stars moved down there. Their MLS soccer team moved down there. Now they all have these headquarters with sports entertainment, and they built this mixed-use office space complex around it. It's not this massive, but they have 2 or 3 of these types of developments, and we walked. I got pictures. I'm happy to show it to you, some of the architecture we looked at and the concepts. Different, but yet similar in a lot of concepts.
Yeah, I should have remembered that. And also, we're working in Mansfield, Texas, where they hope to imitate what's in Frisco similarly.
Thank you.
Yeah, just briefly, kind of just working off everything that's already been said. Many of the elements that have gone into this, I've researched, personally experienced, just overall fantasized about coming to Westfield over the last 10 years. So I just want to thank the team for all their hard work and looking forward to continuing to work together to iron everything out and seeing this come to fruition.
Thank you.
Question, I'm glad, Jeff, too, that you mentioned Titletown. You played right in the Counselor Dart's love for Green Bay. But the Braves facility, I'm a baseball guy. This is very similar. But I want to make sure counselors understand the residential, too, is also, these are vertical buildings. So as we go vertical, there are dead times for youth sports. There are dead times, there'll be weaker times where if you do not have residential, these restaurants, the other retail pieces will fail. So having a very dense, walkable, which is absolutely what Spec Dempsey does and is known for internationally, we have to achieve that to support the investment from a day-to-day basis. That lunch crowd, that breakfast crowd needs to be coming out of those buildings. At the same time, too, we're asking a couple different things on that south parcel for water. So we're taking up some potential usable land. So how are we going to handle that? You may not be in a position, nor may I want you to answer that tonight, but that's just a thought that I have, that I love this water feature immensely, just from a design aesthetic value. And then also I think the connectivity, calming, all sorts of pieces. I think it's wonderful. But you may want to just park that question, Janelle, because that's probably for you to deal with in your back pocket. But that is going to be an issue, I believe.
And we have already had initial discussions with CARD about that and how to accommodate that within their plan.
And then the ICE feature, frankly, we got a lot of investment and a lot of investors the ability to attract, I mean, this is a 10-year period, and there's sequencing of what can come and what can't come, and how we do that. So that business activity or that tourism activity, tourism attractions, Mayor, make sure it's tourism attractions, support that. So the ICE, the RFQ, do we have a time frame on that? I know there's been a lot of conversations on that.
We are currently working on some bridging documents with some other designers with Spec Dempsey to test fit the ICE facility. Hunden is helping us through that process, and I'll be coming to the Redevelopment Commission very likely in February to authorize them moving forward to lead our process to do a bot RFQ and start working on selection of teams. So this would be a spring, summer effort.
On that piece, I know this is a fluid document. This is not, cast in stone. It's not the 10 Commandments per se, but, there's many ice rink concepts that are out there for youth hockey. I grew up playing on multiple teams, playing on side to side. The smaller ice rinks, just because I've seen maybe a counselor's son play on them, I think are phenomenal. So will that flexibility be there for a potential response too, just to kind of recognize the little guys and gals that are playing hockey now?
Yes.
Okay.
This was a specific question that I talked about with the designer to make sure that we could accommodate the mini rinks, and they've suggested they can be turned 90 degrees within the current rink footprint, and I think they said they can fit 3 per standard size rink, so definitely can be accommodated. And with a 3 to 4 sheet ice facility, it does give us the flexibility to dedicate a rink towards that use without giving up a full rink. And then they've also suggested if we are looking at curling, which is definitely something to consider, that we would need to identify whether and this is not a design issue as much as it is an operational issue, if we have serious curling professionals or if we just have recreational, because the temperature of the ice is not the same as what it is for skating. So we'll have to be sure that we consider those needs as well.
My North Dakota and Minnesota friends would appreciate it. The curling's serious up there, by the way. The other pieces too, I understand we don't want to build a church for Easter Sunday, and we want to be mindful of that. This is a 10-year process because of the competitive nature, the ability to work with 2, I'm going to call master developers, Mayor. We think we can accelerate that process even with the current climate on rates and banks, or where do we think we stand?
Yeah, we can't predict the future, but as where things stand today, we feel pretty confident in our ability to activate both areas at a fairly rapid pace. But again, you get one big win in one district and it can snowball very quickly, or if you keep striking out, it could really bog things down. So, we got some work to do to attract the right pieces there. We've got a lot of people we're talking to. Maybe none of them come, maybe they all come. If they all come, we're done in about 2 years. But that's not real. So, there's a lot of things we have to work through. The other thing I want to say too, I just want to be very, very clear. Yes, we envision ICE at that location, but we've not written a blank check to Card & Associates. There will be an RFQ. We expect multiple bids, and not all of them are going to be at that location. So I want to be very clear to the development community that we welcome bids. We welcome ideas about where ICE could go as long as it's near Grant Park.
Well, in writing tonight, and then Janelle's already said it, I think twice, it can be or near Grant Park.
That's
Absolutely.
Nearby. So having some flexibility can also create some competition and maybe an even better deal, if you will, for the community and more importantly, those that could potentially utilize the ICE as well.
Absolutely. We just didn't want to miss the chance to plan for it here, because if you don't plan for it, it will never come.
Well, you also need to test fit and figure out if you got enough
Precisely.
space and how those things work.
Yeah.
So any other questions from anyone this evening?
Oh, the championship baseball field is the one just northeast of the roundabout at 186th and Grand Park Boulevard. So there is no championship. Sorry, did you say field or diamond? You said field, right? I said field, I meant diamond. The diamond, okay, the diamond is northeast of the roundabout. The field, we would say temporarily, we would locate where the stadium is shown until a stadium gets built, because it just seems to be the logical place to put the field temporarily.
Is that building that adjacent to the shown soccer facility there, seating or just extra space? It's in between the what I'm calling the championship field final destination and.
Between the Diamond and
Yeah,
Grand Park Boulevard.
correct.
That would be a mixed-use development. It's
Okay.
it's fairly small. The Diamond itself has to be oriented in the direction that it is shown in the plan, and it has to be in a location that's outside of the drainage easement. So we're left with a fairly small mixed-use development footprint, including some structured parking to accommodate the displaced surface parking there.
Any other questions or discussion this evening? Counselor?
I'll touch on the ice a little bit. I think it's awesome. I think it's super important. I also think it's super important we get it right. I would push back on those designers that say we can just take a regular sheet of ice and turn it 90 degrees on it. You can do that. It doesn't create a true mini sheet of ice. It creates a fix for little kids, but they still have to put up barricades and stuff like that. True mini ice, if anyone wants to see it, you can go to the Ice Barn in Westfield. It's full boards all the way around. It's full paint all the way around. They do it a lot in Canada and Europe to excel the kids' skill sets. And I think that looking long-term for like tournaments and stuff like that, with the growth that hockey is having across the country, I think that would be really important to get correct, and I would just urge them to dive into that just a little bit more.
Thanks for the input. Again, the study that we're doing right now is mostly test fit,
Yeah.
bridging documents to make sure we have enough room for everything. But I'll definitely provide that input to Hunden as we put that qualifications document together.
Well, I thank you for all your work and all of our partners and your team working their tails off to get where we are today, but there's tons more to do. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Moving along to old business this evening, we have ordinance 2478, which is the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, concerning Fund Number 270. And tonight, we actually have a presentation by the gentleman that makes sure our meetings work, Director Larson.
Not much of a presentation, just a recap of last time this was presented to you. This is an amendment to an ordinance, and for the record, Christopher Larson, Director of Informatics with the City of Westfield. This is an ordinance that was created in 2012, I think, for a non-reverting fund for the informatics department. We are just revamping it and getting it up to date with the correct language so that we can utilize it for some of the new agreements we have in place with GPSE. So we own all the technology out there, but because they're the primary users of it, they're going to be paying for all the subscriptions and support that go along with that. And so this helps us align with that. Just for your awareness, this is just step one. Step two would be additional appropriation from this fund to utilize those dollars as they're coming in. But we'll have more discussion on that with the clerk's office at that time. So,
Any discussion this evening? Questions? Seeing none, this is a ordinance for from old business, so we need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 24-78 concerning Fund Number 270.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Weininger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes. Patrick
Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next, on new business, we have a first reading for ordinance 25-01, which is the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, creating a new fund, Fund 266, for capital projects. We have our Deputy Mayor, Danielle Carey-Tolan.
Yes. For the record, Danielle Carey-Tolan here to talk about the Capital Project Fund 266. So remembering back during budget season, you guys had approved some numbers based on this fund, and now we're here to create the fund so that the way Marla and the Clerk Treasurer's Office can kind of codify that within their system. This fund, as we talked about during budget cycle, is really the capital infrastructures, the roundabouts, the buildings, roads, garages. That will all be coming out of this fund instead of the general fund. So that way we have different sources and we can track it a little bit differently for us. If you have any questions, we will be doing a transfer later on into this fund, so there will be more things coming before you.
So a transfer out of the general fund?
General
into
fund and
this
food and beverage, yep.
Specifically for these
Yep.
capital projects?
Yep.
What's the estimated amount of that transfer?
The estimated amount will probably be around $27 million.
Will that be detailed
Yes.
at that time?
Yep. This is just to create it so that.
Will there be funds from outside of the general fund that would be going into that at some point?
Potentially the Grand Park proceeds as well will be going into this as part of that, but that's the only thing that we see as like a yearly payment into that fund. The rest will be general fund, food and beverage.
So what Grand Park
Our
dollars would be going into there?
the payments from.
Lease
GPSC.
payment from
Okay.
GPSC.
Would, like, community crossing grants, where would those go?
I don't know yet.
Okay,
That's a question I can get to you later.
that's fair. That is fair. This is a first reading tonight, so this is why we have these.
Yes.
So any other questions or comments this evening?
One question, once this fund's established, who's the governing body of appropriating the funds for this?
You guys will be.
Good answer.
It's the only answer.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions this evening, we will move along. City council comments. Victor, do you have any updates coming off the holiday? Thank you. Any other council comments? I do want to thank the people of Westfield for, frankly, a great first year officially with the mayor here present. We've been able to attract over nearly $1 billion of new investment, commercial investment into the city of Westfield. Diversifying our property tax base for our residents, also driving more payers into our great and fantastic school referendum payments is very important to our residential taxpayers as well. That sometimes takes a while to build, but those are important things for our taxpayers as well. I also want to thank our other counselors for entrusting in me some crazy things that I have to do for you, but most importantly, I do enjoy working with all of you, and we look forward to a successful year, most importantly for the people of Westfield, and we greatly appreciate it. Mayor?
I got a few things. First off, just a reminder, I have a town hall meeting going on Wednesday. It's going to be a recap of 2024. For those of you that made the chamber luncheon, it's a very similar presentation, but not everybody's a chamber member, and we got a lot of requests to do this again for the residents. So it is Wednesday at the schools. We advertise, register in advance for tickets, but we have quite a bit of capacity right now. I think it seats over 600. I think we've got 200 or 300 registered. So just show up. If you're interested, just show up. Grab your friends, your family, and come listen to me jabber for a couple of hours. It'd be real exciting, trust me. I want to talk a little bit about snow removal. We obviously had back-to-back weather events. The snow we got, the first round of snow we got was some of the most snow we've seen since 1996. I think the last time it came anywhere close was 2018. So it was definitely broke me in as mayor of how to deal with snow removal. We did a lot of things well. I thought the primary roads were phenomenal. I think it might have been some of the best you'll see in Hamilton County. We had a few hiccups in some of the residential areas. We put our heads together post-event and made some adjustments in how we are dealing with that. And I thought that the second round went much, much better. Got a lot of compliments for the residents, so I feel like we've made some minor tweaks to a process that should make that better. Just so residents know, if we get more than 3 inches of snow, our assets, we're not staffed in our public works department like Carmel. We don't have 70, 80 trucks running through the city. We've got a handful. We got less than 10. So we have to focus the heavy trucks on the primary road. So we use the private sector and private businesses who have snow removal capabilities. We have 2 on contract right now. That may change moving forward, but right now we have 2, and they go into our neighborhoods. So they're not as responsive. They don't have quite the same assets we have, but overall, I think they do a fairly good job, and we maintain a command center at the city to track what's being cleared and what's not. So be patient. We get lots of complaints about burying mailboxes and driveways. Hey, timing's everything. If you snow blow before we plow your roads, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to come back. You don't want those trucks trying to get too close to your mailboxes because they'll take them out. Same thing on the mailboxes. That is the resident's responsibility to clear out the mailboxes. And if you don't, that is fine, but we can't help you when the postman or woman doesn't show up and drop your mail off. They've been instructed that if they cannot access your mailbox from the car, they move on. So we've gotten some complaints around that and just want everybody to understand how that works. Weather, I'd like to tell you we're on the back end of it. I think we're on the front end of it. And rumor has it this weekend we're going to see an Arctic weather pattern coming through. We're going to have maybe the 3 coldest weeks in Indiana in over a century. So buckle up. It's going to be a fun few weeks. And we're also being told there could be another major system coming through next weekend that could be much more than the snow we got the last time around. So just hang in there. We're going to communicate as much as we can to keep everybody in the loop of what's happening. But unfortunately, as mayor, I don't get to control the weather. The council does. So if you don't like it, call your councilman. They'd be happy to share with you how they determine how much snow we get. And then lastly, we have an executive session immediately following this meeting. Not that we want to rush anybody out, but if you could, if you need to meet with a counselor or something, do that quickly. And if we get you out of here sooner rather than later, we can kick off our executive session. And with that, I am done.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, I was amiss. The council is on a listening tour for the golf cart potential proposal. You can find additional information on our website, but January 14th, tomorrow, Councilor Dart has his at the Bridgewater Club. January 20th, District 4, I will be hosting one at the Harmony Clubhouse. January 22nd at 6 o'clock, District 2 and 5 will be having theirs at the Viking Meadows Clubhouse. February 6th at 7 p.m. With Councilor Deppner will be at the club at Chatham Hills. You can attend any and all of these listening tour visits. You can pepper the mayor with all your questions, but at the same time would encourage people to participate as we try to listen and then also potentially formulate a plan moving forward with regards to golf carts and potential usage as well.
What night is your event?
Mine is January 20th.
There's something big
There is something very big that night. So our Director of Communications has told me that she has a hard stop. And speaking on behalf of my Notre Dame loving family, yes, there is a big event that evening. So, thank you. If you want to attend, feel free, I'll be there, but we may have TVs too for the after party, if you will.
I think you planned that for a reason.
I did not plan that for a reason, so.
Serve food and drink to get people to show up.
Well, you know, I'm a very hospitable guy. But with that, though, I think we do desperately need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. We are adjourned. That was well played.